Now, the first thing we've got to figure out here is why is Magnus, son of Carl, apologising to the chessboard? What's going on? Has he gone insane? Is he doing it for the lols, for the cameras, for the memes? What's actually occurring here on the board? Well then, if you can figure that one out. We're going to crack on with the game here though, instead of sticking too long with that clip, because this is an absolutely epic queen sacrifice, the greatest this year by Magnus himself. The world number one was playing with white. His opponent was young Nodebek Abdusatorov. What an exciting player he is. It's freestyle chess in Paris, France. They're still in the round robin stage. Check this out, because it very soon starts looking like a game of regular chess. But yes, Magnus has no queen, so he takes the centre of the board to start with. Don't blunder the queen too early. This isn't the moment. Hold your horses. It drops back. Now the pawn advances. Both players getting their bits out here. Great etiquette at the chessboard, and now get ready to be bamboozled. Here comes a freestyle chess castling move. Magnus now brings the knight, and you should do the same with the black pieces. Something a bit normal. But Nodebek, such an ambitious player. He's top of the standings already after day one with Magnus. He plays bishop c4. Now he whispers whoosh as he moves it across the board. Great top level etiquette, but it's strange. You know, why are you bringing it out there? Magnus develops, now pawn e6, and he puts the question to that one. What's he going to do here? Surely take the pony off the board. Isn't that why you put it there? Well, no. First, we see knight b5 threatening this monster fork. So Magnus gets out the forking way with the lady. Surely now you capture on d3 here, but oh no. We see the move of bishop to a5. What's going on with Nordebek? Did he have a bad croissant for breakfast? Something wrong with his French coffee? I'm not sure. But it's a bad move because Magnus can simply gobble gobble on c4 like a delicious bucket of
mushrooms.
You've won an entire piece. Yes, black can take here, which was the follow-up move, but white can simply step back to c1, cover the rook, and you're doing great. Big advantage. This one's still hanging as well. But Magnus doesn't do it. He's playing for the fans here. What does he do? He only goes and chomps on b5.
The same missed.
Now the engine hates it, as you can see, because he's giving his entire queen. The king recaptures, and what's he got for it? Well, 3 minor pieces for the queen. And even though the game started as freestyle chess, you know, the board now looks a bit more regular. Obviously, we've got the knight in the corner. Is there anything forlorner? And this is a big part of the compensation for Magnus. So he centralizes this rook. Now this one enters the game. Bishop b3, targeting the weak pawn. And of course, there's this huge clamp, so you can't really push. Knight d6, the best move. But Nodebek goes for this ambitious push of the c pawn here, opening the queen. You could play a4 to cover. Excuse me. But instead, Magnus spawns the seahorse. Now we see the queen enter the game, and here he only goes and picks up his knight and fork. You know, this is one of the problems that Nodebek had with his development, but there wasn't so many great moves. You know, huge pressure from the white pieces. He lands this check. Magnus casually sidesteps. Now we see the knight enter the game here, and after knight takes, rook takes back, he brings his final pogo stick back into the game. This pawn pushes down. If in doubt, run the a pawn. Bishop e6 played. The knight rotates into the attack, and this is what Magnus has to be careful of. You know, surely you run to the corner here or something, but no. He plays the ambitious pawn to d5, allowing the queen to check. Now you can't run for the corner, and what does Magnus do? Just casually parks the king on f3. I mean, bro is chilling harder than Richie Rapport in his preparation for one of the rounds. There he is, chilling so hard you could almost call him Chill Liren. He's learnt from the best during the World Chess Championship cycle when he was a second to Ding. What's Magnus going to do here after the queen takes the pawn? A little bit of counterplay. Well, he just calmly brings all the pieces to the party. This is the key. Now we see the pawn try and rip open the position. You know, don't give that counterplay. Instead, Magnus respawns the seahorse here. Huge monster check threatened, so the rook covers that one. Now the queen is hit, saved, hit, saved. You could actually check first from d4, best move, but instead the knight stumbles forward here, and it's really not a great move. You know, you could actually play rook c2, prepare to double stack, but instead Magnus is just playing for the brilliancy prize now. He loves to give up more material, does it, then wins this pawn here. Now yes, there's this weird check. It's not actually a great move, but it's a good randomizer, low on time. Don't take with the king, drop a bishop, so this one takes. You do get access to the pawn in the center therefore, but check. The king's actually in jail, only one square, because if you go to c8 you technically can, but you walk into nastiness. And now after knight b6, hitting the rook, also threatening rook c4 to win this queen. This one was played to stop the rook c4 threat, and the bishop can't capture, it's pinned. But Magnus here comes up with the final brilliancy on what is truly a stunning game here. Can you find the move? Have a look for yourself if you think you can. You know, it's all about trying to decoy one of these pieces here, because imagine if you could land this check. So the move to be played is rook c4. Beautiful, because you're going to win this queen or the rook if the queen moves away. Therefore, you do have to capture it like this. If queen takes, you could have captured, of course, but now you've got access to this square. Check. This is how the game proceeded. The queen drops off the board, and we reach this position where you've got the two snipers against the cannon. I mean, it's beautiful stuff. They're pretty much popes at this point, right? We see this pawn defended. Magnus brings around the king, and now watch the endgame goat just go to work. Few of his fans are bleating hard by this point, absolutely loving it. He's grinding like a grandma deep into the endgame here, and this is child's play for Magnus Carlsen. What does he do? Slowly marching the king. It lands on this square. The f-pawn's not long for this world. Drops, and after this bishop rotates, defended. One more check, defended. We see a resignation from Nodebek Abdusatorov. Why? Well, here's a sample line. Say you lift the rook, preparing to push the pawn here. Well, now you can just march the f-pawn. King comes round, but it's just no good. You sidestep with a check, keep your bishop covered, march the pawn. Here's a sample line, and in the end, you land a checkmate. This is one sample. Game would be done. Beautiful by Magnus Carlsen there. Hope you enjoyed that one, and have a look at the video on screen if you want to see some more epic chess and another queen sacrifice. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.